YouTube channel. I have just deleted about 2.5 hours of video because I did not like the quality. I'm going to take another take at this video, and this is hopefully going to be the one that you guys see. So I am going to be doing a response video to a response of an interview on TV. This video is one by Russell Brand, who is a comedian here in the UK, who is responding to an interview that Stephen Fry had with, can't remember what his name is, about the existence of God. I want to get this across. I want this to be very, very clear from the start, okay? You might not agree with my opinions today. You might not agree with what I'm going to say today. You may agree with the facts that I'm going to say today. And I genuinely, full-heartedly do not mind that. If you believe in God, that's fine. If you believe in any deity, that is fine. I do not mind. However, I didn't ever want to touch religion on this channel because it is such a touchy subject and it is so easy to offend people, and that's kind of why I deleted 2.5 hours of this video. I will put across this now, I am an atheist, and that is my belief, or lack thereof, should I say. Now that that's out of the way, let's crack on with the video.
In a way, what Fry is talking about, in my opinion, is literalism. And other than like mentioning some phenomena in nature, like burrowing insects and that, talking entirely about human behaviour and human value systems. Now, Joseph Campbell, the cultural mythologist, said all religions are true in that the metaphor is true. So what Campbell's saying there is that religion is an attempt to explain the unknowable, in the same way that science is an attempt to explain the unknowable. Science can explain the mechanics of the universe and can explain the mechanics of biology and anatomy, but can it ever explain the why? The answer is no, it can never explain why this is happening.
Well, hang on there. Science is not there to explain the unknowable. Science is there to discover what can be known. If it's unknowable, you cannot know it. You cannot possess the knowledge to understand it. That is the definition of unknowable. Science is there to essentially reinforce what we know. So, I know that this pen is made of plastic. I know this because I could do analytical techniques upon it. That would show me that there will be polymers in this, okay? It will also tell me what ink's in it, you know? It could show me the constituent elements of that ink. And you also say that science doesn't explain the why. Science does explain the why. Science explains the why, the what, the how, and the who. It explains everything. Because that's what it's there for. As is religion in a kind of roundabout way. It's there as a way of explaining something. That is your belief. If you believe in that, that's fine. But at least get your information right. Okay? Science is there as a way of explaining what we already know. Because if we don't know... I say already know, I mean like everything that is physically knowable. Okay? If it's knowable, they will find it. That makes sense? Yeah? Yeah? Good.
What we all want to know is there a reason for us being here? And what is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of our consciousness?
I don't know what you mean by nature, because nature to me is what something's made of. So the nature of this universe is essentially just boiled down to its quarks, leptons, and bosons. That is the total nature of this universe. The standard model is what everything's made up of, including forces. And that is what everything's made of. The way you say nature, it makes me think you want to know a reason for your existence. Religion would argue that your reason for existence is to go to heaven. See, to me, that seems extraordinarily short-sighted. In the way that if your only purpose to live is to die, then what's the point in living? But yeah, you speak of nature as though it's a reason to live. Nature generally means what something's made of. But if you use religion as a reason to live, go ahead, it's fine. I just feel it's a bit off, if that makes sense. It just doesn't sit right with me. It's same as, like, it's enough with Christianity, because it's not only Christianity that I don't understand. Hinduism. You're reincarnated, so your purpose of this life is to have a better next life, and so on and so forth. Which I can get the message of that. That is the message to me. That says is constant self-improvement. You are constantly trying to improve. You're constantly trying to improve yourself. But it still boils down to that you're only living to live your next life.
This is an interesting book called Biocentrism by someone called Robert Lanza. Here he tackles the idea of creation and addresses the flaws, in the same way that Stephen Fry is addressing the flaws in Christian doctrine. Robert Lanza here addresses the flaws in received physics. In the last few decades, there's been considerable discussion of a basic paradox in the construction of the universe as we know it. For example, if the Big Bang had been 1 part in a million more powerful, it would have rushed out too fast for the galaxies and life to develop.
So you know the exact, amount of energy, the amount of force, in which case I'd like to meet you, because not even scientists know the exact amount. Your 1 part in a million could lie within their, in fact it does lie within their error margins. It lies within their error margins, and an error margin is there saying, well, it could be this value, it could be as little as this value, or it could be as great as this value. The truth lies somewhere between there. So your 1 part in a million lies in between there. So that part's wrong.
If the strong nuclear force were decreased to 2%, atomic nuclei wouldn't hold together, and plain vanilla hydrogen would be the only kind of atom in the universe.
Nuclear force doesn't hold atoms together. It actually pulls them apart. The strong nuclear force, I actually do have quite a nice graph. There we go. And yes, that's the right way up. So, on a very, very small scale, times 10 to the negative 15, at really, really small values, it repels particles. So it wouldn't stop them from sticking together. We would probably still have elements up to maybe what, nitrogen, oxygen level? Because they are still pretty stable atoms. And also, how do you justify 2% of that force? Because that force isn't constant. It is affected, like all forces, by something else. Okay? So in this case, it's affected significantly by the square of separation. It is inversely proportional to the square of separation, to a point. At a certain point, it will change its course. It's not a linear type force. Also, for you science nerds, I haven't drawn my graph wrong. Those are asymptotes. That one there, that's an asymptote. That's an asymptote. Okay, happy now. Boom. Okay, so you can't make a judgment upon something you don't know. And I say that in the nicest of ways because you clearly don't know what the strong nuclear force is.
If the gravitational force were decreased by just a hair, stars, including the sun, would not ignite.
Who's to say it's constant? Like, who's to say it's always been the same? See, that's the problem with religious arguments. They always boil down to what if a constant wasn't constant? Well, we don't know that the constant's constant. So, you might be wrong anyway.
Within the solar system and universe, so exact that it strains credulity to propose that they are random, even if that's exactly what standard contemporary physics baldly suggests.
I don't get how it's strange to say it's random. If I dropped this revision card that I've got, actually, it is for chemistry, Gibbs free energy card. If I was to drop this on the floor, it would fall in a random position. And it would do that every time. Wouldn't necessarily fall in the same place every time, because random things affect random things. Brownian motion, for example. Atoms in the air will collide and travel in various different directions. Because air exhibits Brownian motion. And because of that, they collide with this paper, and it falls in a random area. Okay, makes sense? Good. Okay. So, why is it bad to say it's necessary? Why is it bad to say it's random? Why it's random factor? That doesn't sit well with me. And also, I made another lovely little drawing of what I like to call, because I'm a strong believer in the multiverse theory. I believe, because of the law of infinities, there has to be more than one universe. And that would explain, because if you believe in the law of infinities and you believe that we are but one universe, it's all the probability of there being another universe like us is 100%. I want to alert you to this graph, okay? So we're right here. This is our universe in the multiverse, okay? Imagine all these are perfectly the same, maybe with a few minor little alterations, maybe minor little differences. One might be larger than the other, one might be smaller, yeah, okay? And I'm going to take you down to this blank space here. Imagine there's an infinite number of these, okay? With an infinite number of blank space. I'm going to take you down to this blank space. This is our universe at this point, our multiverse at this point. And this here is a blank space on this page. I'm going to say that there was a universe here. Now, because at this period in time it's a blank space, you can make one assumption. The universe wasn't stable enough to sustain itself for the time that our universe has. You don't know how long it's lasted. And the thing is with that is but one single possibility. So there could be many universes like this, and that wouldn't make it random. That would make the distribution random, but not the actual outcome. Okay, so why is it wrong to say it's random?
As a person who believes in God, my understanding of God is this, that my consciousness emanates from a perspective and it passes through endless filters, the filters of the senses, the subjective filters of the senses and of my own biography. This is good, this is bad, this is wrong, I want that, I don't want that. But behind all of that, there is an awakeness, an awareness that sees it all. And it's in you too, and it's in Stephen Fry, and it's in the man that was interviewing him. It's in all of us, an awakeness, an interconnectivity.
In other words, if you do something wrong, it's not your fault. Because your cosmic filters didn't filter it out. No. You are in charge of your own actions. There is nothing that... There's no such thing as the cosmic... there's no such thing as like filters and stuff that filter out what's wrong and right. That is your own morality. If your morality will be different to my morality. And that's obvious. That obviously varies person to person. But the way you're saying that is everybody's morality would be the same. Because everybody would have the same filters. Because we're all, as you put it, emanating. So you're saying that everybody is like a beacon and we transmit energy. I mean, we kind of do because we have smartphones, but not in the sense that you're saying. You're saying that because you filter something out, you then transmit that to me, and I filter the same thing out. No. You may think that, I don't know, testing on animals is wrong. But say, a scientist who has to do that for a living won't. Because, obviously, that gets him money. In the same respect that he might think, well, I don't know, making YouTube videos is wrong. And I might think, and so would Russell, that that's a good thing, and that's getting our points across. Everybody has a different level of morality.
The thing Stephen Fry said there about that he who is without sin cast the first stone. You lot are all perfect, are you? And now Fry says, how would that you apply that principle judiciously in contemporary justice? Well, I would say that when you are condemning murderers or paedophiles, to acknowledge within us all is the capacity for evil. That
we don't know if this is wrong or right. If I killed you, that would be wrong. If you killed me, that would be wrong. If you went on a mad murdering spree, that would be wrong. I'm pretty sure the law is what's wrong. Okay? It's your morality if you choose to follow it, but it's still wrong. Okay, so there is a concept of right and wrong. And it's pretty damn universal, because otherwise you would move to another country if you didn't agree with a country's law. But the funny thing is, something like cannibalism is pretty universally illegal. So, are you saying that because there's no concept of right and wrong, cannibalism is neither right nor wrong? Because cannibalism sure as hell is wrong. Okay? It's just a major flaw. Okay, there is a concept of right and wrong, because otherwise we wouldn't need police. I agree. We all do have the capacity for evil, but criminals are still criminals, and they should be treated as such. So you're saying that if you were on a jury, you would, if there was a murderer or a paedophile, say, well, hang on a minute, don't we all have that in us? No, you wouldn't. You would condemn him as a murderer or a paedophile, or her as a murderer or a paedophile. You wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. It wouldn't fit, because you wouldn't be able to. You would not have a justification to send anybody to jail. Because the way you're saying it, logically, is that we all have the capacity to do that. So, logically, in your sense, we all should be in jail. So, yeah, that's not going to work, because you can't condemn somebody and make a justification upon somebody who is definitely guilty of a crime based upon whether you think that... You can't make a justification to sentence somebody or not to sentence somebody because of what you can do. That's not how a jury works. A jury is a jury of one's peers, where they're all in the same situation as you, and they can say, right, okay, this person has committed a crime, they are against what we would stand for as humanity, not as a jury, as humanity. You're against that idea, that ideology, you deserve to go to jail for X amount of time. And then the judge makes that decision. That's how the justice system works, and I'm pretty sure that it's fine. There obviously could be minor tweaks to it, such as maybe more equality, but other than that, that's fine. I don't see the problem with it.
Experienced consciousness in a different way. When the conscious, nagging, left-sided mind that sees everything in materialistic and macho, rationalistic terms abated, limitless energy became available to her. She noticed that, in fact, her consciousness...
She cannot be limitless. That's pretty much because of the law of conservation of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form into another. So, in other words, there is a limited amount of energy.
We can't make any absolute conclusions from them. No one knows if there is a God or if there isn't a God. No one knows which interpretation is closest.
No one does know whether there is or isn't a God. But absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, the same way that absence of evidence isn't evidence of existence. Absence of evidence is absence of evidence. You cannot prove it neither way. And this is the problem. And whereas scientifically you can prove just about everything in science. Like, obviously there's going to be exceptions that you can't prove per se, like, philosophical ideology and stuff, but in fact, is that even considered a science these days? I suppose psychology is considered a science, so maybe is philosophy considered a science? I'm not entirely sure. I will Google that.
You can't judge all religion on the most stupid bits. That's like judging all football on the most stupid bits.
Actually, you can judge a religion based upon its weakest parts. For example, the Christian faith, you would stone another human being for not believing what you believe. That is known as judging your weakest link. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, as we all know. So, I'm pretty sure that that saying wouldn't have come about if it weren't at least slightly true. You know what I mean?
Amma, the hugging saint, you look at her here, learn more about her here. Amma said, the question's not, is there a God? The question is there suffering?
Actually ask whether there's suffering. That's not a question, is it? How is there a God and is there suffering even on the same level? That's not pointing at you. That's pointing at Amma. That's not the question to be asking at all. They are in no way linked, so they are not questions that you need to be asking. The question is, in truth, if you are questioning your religion, is there a God? That is the question you want to be asking yourself.
And we can love one another. Now, if you can do that through atheism, then do it through atheism. But a lot of people need to know that this is temporary, that we are the temporary manifestation of something greater, something complete.
This ideology. Why would you adopt an ideology where you are yourself a lesser human being for adopting this ideology? That's pointless. That means you're adopting an ideology where you are worthless. You are actively wanting to be worthless. No, you are not temporary. If you adopt this ideology, this is the one religion, one idealistic value of certain religions. I don't understand. Why do people say that we're temporary? A part of a bigger thing. Why can't we just be here to be here? To live, or to live to continue living? Why can't that just be the ideology?
And no one can. We're up against the parameters, and I believe that without embracing something spiritual, something whole, something beyond human thought, we have no chance of saving ourselves and saving the planet. We are all connected to consciousness.
Yes, because religion stops global warming, it stops the greenhouse effect, it stops all these horrible things, it stops terrorism, it stops massive wars. Oh, wait, no, religion has caused wars, causes terrorism, actually makes the planet less of a nice place to live, because religious people will go out. Not all, obviously. There are some really, really nice people who are religious, many of whom I would consider true friends. But there are a lot of people in, specifically the Catholic religion, who will go up against people and actively assault them because they are not following their religion. How is that making this planet better? How is that making our... No, that... You're either really, really, really blind, or you don't care. You're either really blind to the fact that suffering happens, or you don't care that suffering happens. And honestly, after seeing what this guy is like, either way could swing for me. I genuinely could believe either way. One thing, the outro is pretty catchy. Other than that, that is my response video. This is going to take some more godly editing. So, I'm back, guys. Until next time, goodbye.